yeah, so this is you guys' first time on AMH TV. So can you tell us a little bit about Black Fox?
Yeah, well basically three of us in the band started off in a band in 2008 called The Smoke, and we played for quite a few years as The Smoke and put out a couple of records. And then at one point one of the guys in the band moved up to Sydney for a job. And so when he moved up there, it's hard to sort of keep the momentum going when you've got one of the members in Sydney. But we kept going for a little while, predominantly as a four-piece, and then he'd come down for some gigs. And then it kind of just ran out of steam. So we decided that we didn't want to go on as The Smoke without him, because he was one of our best friends, and still is. So we basically decided at that point that we'd end The Smoke and start a new band. But the three core members are still there, and initially we had our drummer from The Smoke as well. And then he kind of got married, and
he didn't kind of get married. He did get married.
Yeah, he did get married, and he couldn't sort of make the time commitments anymore. And that's when we picked up Mitch on drums and Andre on bass, which takes us up to our current five-piece lineup.
It's good. So yeah, what have you guys been up to in the early stages of this year?
It's been pretty quiet, hasn't it? Because you were overseas for a month there in December.
Yeah, we just did a tour of Adelaide. So we headed over to Adelaide and did a couple of gigs over there. We always are pretty keen to do interstate shows, so yeah, we headed over there. And aside from that, yeah, I think I was actually overseas for the most part of the start of the year. So
it's good. Yeah, it's been a little while now since the release of the first record, Line of Sight. How have people responded to it overall?
Mixed. It's been predominantly good, but we've had a few bad reviews as well. But we don't actually mind that. Like we'd rather a few bad reviews than no reviews, so
that's it. There's nothing worse than being ignored, I think. So.
Yeah, you just want a reaction from people, really. You don't care if they hate it or they love it, but as long as they're listening to it, having some sort of reaction. But I mean, yeah, we kind of focused on the negative. On the whole, it's been really positive, and we've had quite a few people telling us that they love it, and a lot of good reviews, and been selling a few records, so it's all been pretty, for the most part, positive.
That's good. You mentioned at the top of the interview that you guys used to be called The Storm, you were The Smoke.
The Smoke, yeah.
So how would you say that, well, people have been saying that this Black Fox is the evolution of The Smoke. How would you compare playing in Black Fox as opposed to The Smoke?
Musically, it's quite different. I think The Smoke was a bit more raw.
Yeah, a bit more rock and roll, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas Black Fox has got a bบmore sort of an electronic element to it, I guess. Yeah,
there's a few more synths and a few more textures, and it's probably a little bit more produced. But there's basically a bit more in it, and the Smoke also had a lot of elements of sort of like rockabilly in it. There's really none of that in Black Fox. But yeah, it's just sort of, I don't know, I suppose the Smoke was more like the Rolling Stones, and Black Fox is more like, the Cure or the Smiths, or something of that kind of, indie sort of nature.
That's good. I've heard you guys say that you guys label your sound as like the best part of the 70s, the best part of the 80s put together. A lot of like these indie rock bands are coming out saying, like, with these types of inspirations. What do you think it is about that era of music that people really get into lately?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of really good music then, but there was also a lot of tripe. Like, if you look at the 80s, it was one of the worst periods for music going around. There was just so much junk coming out. But then there were a few really big bands which changed music forever, like bands like the Smiths and the Cure, and quite a few Australian bands as well, like the Church, and even bands like Midnight Oil and stuff. They really did change the whole musical landscape. But particularly bands like the Smiths, they really changed things, and they were coming out in a period where there were bands like Pseudo Echo and stuff doing songs like Funky Town. There was no real substance to it, and I think that's why those sort of bands have stood the test of time. The bands like the Smiths and the Cure, and why they're probably still influencing people in bands to this point. If you would agree with that or not?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I guess you could say that's kind of happening in today's era of music, with like where the pop kind of scene is at the moment. How do you guys view the current music scene as of like how it is now?
It's much the same. I think there's some of the worst music literally ever made, and some of the best music ever made, and it's just a constant balancing act between which of that is getting exposure. Like, I can't believe that stuff like Skrillex just won a Grammy. I just think it's appalling music, to me anyway. I know some people love it, but then there are some bands that are just unbelievable. Like, there's a band in Sydney called Bright Yellow, who are one of my favourite Australian bands of all time, and I just can't understand why they're not absolutely huge.
I guess it kind of goes in cycles though, doesn't it? Like you
Yeah.
have a lot of rubbish pop music, and then you have a band like, you know, like Nirvana or something that comes along and just turns the whole industry on its head, and I guess it's kind of just
Yeah,
like that, doesn't it?
I think that's what we're waiting for at the moment. I think there's going to be another sort of Nirvana that basically takes the alternative music into the mainstream again, and it's going to be a great period for music, and the commercial stations will be filled with that kind of, you know, alternative music again for a period.
Good. So anybody that knows about the band knows that you guys are a massive fan of vinyl. Why do you think that there's such an emphasis for releasing vinyl stuff for the band?
Mostly it was for selfish reasons. It was just one of those things that we wanted to tick off our to-do list. We'd put out records before, but we'd never put one out on vinyl, and we're all sort of big fans of vinyl. So that was the main reason. We just wanted to do it. But the other thing is, music's sort of becoming increasingly more disposable and digital, which is fine. But I remember putting on a record, you know, back in the day when I was just putting on my parents' records. It was a real event. It takes a lot of time. You got to go get it out of the cupboard, take it out of the sleeve, dust it off, put it on. You know, then you've got to get up and change it when one side finishes, and all of that sort of adds a certain value to the music, I think. And you know, CD sales are diminishing constantly, and we thought that anyone who's likely to be into this would probably share our views and be into vinyl. So that's kind of why we did it, I suppose.
That's good. So when I last had a chat to you guys, you said that there was some, like, you guys were hoping that you're going to head off to England to release your music, push your music there. Where is that at that stage?
Well, it's happening.
It is, yeah. You're heading off in a few weeks, aren't you?
Yeah, March 11, I'm flying over there, and Lee's coming over as well. We couldn't get the whole lineup over there because it's a bit tricky. Obviously, none of us are making much money out of music. So yeah, there's two of us at the moment, but we're hoping that over there we'll pick up a couple of guys to fill in on drums and bass, and yeah, we can release the record over there and sort of promote it. But we've already had a bit of play on BBC London, which was nice. They've sort of given it a few spins and had a few bites over there and a little bit of interest. So
good, yeah. So what have the people been that have heard your music over there, what have they been saying? How have they been reacting to music?
All really positive. Yeah, it's great. I feel like, I don't know, our music might be a bit more suited to Englanders. I think, yeah, that they kind of have different tastes in music and comedy, and I'm hoping anyway that it might appeal to them a little bit more.
It's good.
We have this one fan who lives in Germany as well. I don't know how he ever found out about the band, but
yeah,
whenever we put something out, he'll be like sending us emails saying, you know, can you send me over a copy of this? And so he'll be happy that we're going over there.
Yeah, Daniel, and he tried to get us along to a festival in
the Reeperbahn in Hamburg.
the Reeperbahn, and we couldn't go at the time, but man, we're very interested in going to the next one.
Yeah, as long as he's willing to put us up in his place.
Yeah, if we can crash at your place, Daniel, we will definitely come.
It's good, yeah. You also mentioned in that interview that I was talking about that you guys were planning on starting to write a new record this year. Have you guys started to work on that yet?
Yeah, we've just, in the very early stages, I've just written a couple of new ones which we've just started doing in rehearsal. But yeah, we'll probably take about a year, I suppose, just throwing around different songs and working on them, and I'll sort of throw them back between London and Australia with Daniel and work on stuff with Lee over there as well. And at the end, we're hoping to sort of, it'd be nice to have around sort of 15 songs or more that we could cut down to maybe the best 10. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do. But yeah, it's already underway. Some good stuff coming out, I think.
Is there a particular sound or direction you're going to take with this this record that you're planning on putting out?
I don't know. It's
we
hard
want
to
it all to be quite danceable, don't we?
Yeah, that's one thing we really want to do. We want it to be the kind of record that keeps feet on dance floors. So aside from that, as long as it sounds like Black Fox and it gets people dancing, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you guys recorded Line of Sight in a couple of different countries. Is that something that you hope to do with this next record, especially if you go into London?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. When we were doing Line of Sight, you know, Daniel recorded a few of the bits over in Japan, and I spent a week over in New York just getting one of our friends to lay down parts. And I mean, when you're not with any sort of record company, you've just got to, you know, fork out all that cash yourself. But you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. We had a ride of a time doing it. So yeah, if we can definitely, you know, travel around and get a few different people involved with it and get their input, then definitely that'd be great.
That's good. Yeah, the debut was released independently, as you just said. Is there any plan? Is that the same plan for the next album?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a distribution deal with MGM, who are brilliant. Like we've dealt with them ever since the first record with The Smoke, and so we'll probably stick with putting the record out with them again. But I don't know. I mean, if someone came along and offered us something, we'd, I don't know, have a look at it, I guess. But we're quite happy being independent as well. So yeah, we're not sort of waiting on anything to get a record done. We just sort of do it, and if someone else is happy to contribute, then yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving your time to AMH TV, and yeah, thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
No worries.